welcome back to I'll Watch What They're Watching, where we're curious and adamant about cinema. I am one of your hosts. I'm Kyrie.
And I'm Adam.
And today we are going to talk a little bit about what we've seen in theaters, if we've seen anything, because we are in kind of a bit of a dry spell before the calm before the storm, before summer blockbusters come out. But then we're also going to talk about space.
Yes, we were thinking about what we wanted to do as sort of a top 3 episode or, list type of episode. And we had some ideas, but then remembered that Project Hail Mary had just came out. So it felt like a really great time to look at sort of your space sci-fis and what the top movies are. It's a genre I feel like I would say is at the top of my list of favorite genres.
Interesting.
But then when I look at and I do this list, I'm like, maybe I like the idea of it, but in execution, it falls flat often for me. So it'll be an interesting conversation. But yeah, it's a space sci-fi time. So
yeah, I'm curious. We'll talk about theater stuff here first, but I'm very interested to kind of hear, how you came to your list.
I should
I know
also
you
say
watched a ton.
it's perfect timing too. I'm sure you've been and everybody's been keeping track too with the Artemis mission when they shooting around the moon. So it just feels like it's the perfect time to talk space. That's been so fun to watch. It's been such a joy. And I think movies capture that really well. So we'll talk all about what that looks like and how to do it effectively.
Yeah, for
Remind me, since our last time, have you seen anything in the theaters?
I haven't. I'm heading into finals these next couple weeks. Like final projects, final papers. I had one of my final exams yesterday. So yeah, I have been busy to say the least. Still I'm watching movies, just not am quite going to the theater for them. I am wanting to see, I don't know how it's pronounced, maybe KO?
Okay.
The animated fish out of water Japanese animated film. We've talked about it where we're basically both like, I'm curious, but it really does it looks like it was made with Microsoft Paint.
Sure.
And like that, I get that it's stylized, and so that just might be a stylistic choice. That being said, I am kind of the mind where I'm like, well, your stylistic choice should look good. And I just don't feel like it looks very good. But we'll see. And I would, I don't know, I think I might try to go see Mother Mary.
Sure. Yeah, I've been really interested in that one. The review thread kind of dropped today. It seems to be one that people seem to enjoy, but maybe not knock your socks off type of movie. So it'll be interesting to kind of see if we do end up going to see that one, what our reactions would be. It looks very interesting.
I like I said, it does just kind of feel like we are the calm before the storm. Just because there's a couple things here and there that I'm like, yeah, I could. Oh, the new Hamlet movie came out. Maybe I'll go see that. I'm gonna try to see something this weekend for sure. It's just a matter of trying to figure out what exactly it is. But then as well, next Tuesday, the 21st, Whisper of the Heart is doing their one day.
Yeah.
Studio Ghibli 4K IMAX restoration. So I am seeing that next Tuesday. I'm going to they also have very odd showings. Like I'm leaving work an hour early to go see it because their only options were like 1 and 4, which I was like, these are terrible times for like a 1-day engagement type thing. Like where's the 6 or 7 p.m. slot? Just odd.
Huh, that is strange. Isn't that your first watch of that movie?
Yes, that's one I have not seen yet.
I'll be curious to hear what you think.
It's one of my brothers. It's his favorite.
Okay. Yeah, I know a lot of people that really, really like it. It's definitely good. I won't say anything else for you because that's fun for you to go watch it.
Fair enough.
I did
you
have
go?
the chance. I did, yes. So I had the chance to go see Palestine 36, which was a new U.S. release. It came out last year, but obviously just came out in the U.S. just in the last few weeks, I think. Really well done. I think sometimes you feel like, sorry, sometimes I feel like with foreign films, especially if there's like action scenes or things like that, sometimes it can feel, I don't know, just like not what you would expect from a typical blockbuster or typical movie.
Mm,
I didn't feel that at all in this one. It felt very modern. It felt very good. So as far as like the movie making aspects of it, I was really, really impressed. And I think the politics of it were really, really type of story that I think a lot of more people should be aware of that we just aren't. Obviously, Palestine and that area is so hotly politicized and contested and always having armed conflicts that are tragedies, and it's this whole big thing. And so this just kind of opens up some of the history of like things that were going
mm,
on that sort of led to where we are today, in a way that's just like really frustrating to watch. Basically, it's British imperialism and colonization just before World War II, and just bad things going on. And so you really feel for these people and really feel for the things that they've had to go through. So loved it, loved learning about it, loved the
that's
movie
awesome.
experience itself. Highly recommend Palestine 36 to anyone that has the opportunity to go see that.
And then just a couple movies that I did see, not in theaters though. I saw a movie called Garden of Words, which is only like 42 minutes long, or 46 minutes long. It's the same person who did Your Name, Makoto Shinkai.
Okay,
It's very, very, very pretty. That last 10 to 15 minutes is bad. Straight up, like plot story wise is just baffling. Like as it was happening, I was just like, what is going on?
sure.
Because up until then, it's kind of this like lonely, melancholy mood piece associated with rain. Gorgeous, gorgeous animation of rain. Just like, again, this really just like beautiful 40 some odd minute mood piece that I was really into. And then they try to, I don't know, Shinkai, there's a trend among some of my film friends that he doesn't quite know how to end a film. And this I felt like was very, very much the case. Like just the last 10 to 15 minutes are just baffling to me.
I was
I
just
still give
thinking
it four
about,
stars, but
sorry, off topic. I was just thinking about that. I think it'll come up a little bit later of just like, I think that is one of the most difficult parts of space sci-fi is how you're going to end it because you're dealing with these
mm,
huge, huge, huge concepts. And to
you
like
gotta
wrap
stick
it
the
up into
landing.
something good is very difficult. And I think
Yeah.
that's the difference in a few of these for me.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's like it's still really beautiful. I
Yeah,
really, really have issues with the end. And
sure.
then I bonused at work, so I bought five steel books. And one was Escape from New York, which
Okay.
I had never seen before. Basically, Metal Gear Solid ripped off this movie.
Okay.
The protagonist is an anti-hero named Snake Plissken, and he has an eye patch.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Because I told my family this, and my brother goes, "Oh, the movie ripped off Metal Gear Solid," and I was like, "No, no, no. This movie came out in 1981." He goes, "So Metal Gear low key ripped off," and I was like, "Uh huh, yeah, it did, down to like some of the setting and stuff." But the concept is basically futuristic. I mean, futuristic for the time. It's set in 1997, but I'll just read the synopsis. New York City is a walled maximum security prison. Breaking out is impossible. Breaking in is insane. In a world ravaged by President Crash lands inside, war hero Snake Plissken has 24 hours to bring him back. It makes him sound like
Hilarious
he's more of a
premise.
hero. Yeah, it makes him sound like he's more of a hero. He's not. He's about to be tossed into the high security prison for various reasons. Like, he is very much an anti-hero. He is very much in it for himself. Like, he is not saving the president out of a sense of like patriotism or duty. He is saving the president because then he gets a full pardon and gets to leave.
Sure. I can't confirm this 100%, but I think I saw like 20 minutes of this movie one time when I was like getting my car fixed. It was just like on in
Oh,
the lobby because I remember something about that. And I think I tried looking up the movie And I think I remember everything you just said totally aligns with the vision of what I remember watching. And I was just like,
Yeah,
what in the world is this? Like it just I thought initially it was like RoboCop or Blade Runner or something along those
it's
lines.
got those vibes.
So I definitely have seen 20 minutes of this movie, I'm pretty sure.
It is so much fun. Like, it is 80s cheese. There's parts that are super goofy. I was super into it. Maybe it was just because, it's also short. It's like, let me see. I want to say it was right around 99 minutes. I was like, under 100 minutes, I'm in. Turn it on. I'm sold.
That's the key, right?
Right. No, I thought it was a blast. Like, it's something that is, it's Kurt Russell being Kurt Russell, you know, Snake Plissken kind of talks like this. And like that, you know what I'm talking about?
Hilarious.
Like
I love it.
the cheesy, it's so good. I had a really great time with it. And like
That's
it's
awesome.
not even a thing where I'm like, it's not a so bad it's good either. Like it's good. It's just it's also very like it's leaning into some tropes and I'm just like, I don't even care. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
but shall we discuss space?
Yeah, let's do it. So when we talk about space sci-fi, I tried narrowing this down a little bit to not just sci-fi and not just space,
Right.
kind of discussing like I don't think Star Wars really counts.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, I think I would almost, this may sound just absolutely crazy and contradictory. I almost think I would consider some Star Trek to count.
I actually
Yeah.
would 100% agree.
Okay, it just makes sense when you're thinking about like space sci-fi where Star Wars is much more, like a space opera, space fantasy versus like a
Yeah.
space confined movie. It's not so much about that. And like same thing with Dune, I would fit into the Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
category. I wouldn't really
Mm-hmm.
consider this. But then there are a few things that like I don't know that they would really quite get in there. I
I disqualified
2016
Arrival.
I did too. That's what I'm saying. I
Mm-hmm.
think Arrival's right on the edge where if I included it, it would be in my top couple. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it counts. Similarly, I looked up a list of some, and October Sky was on there. And I don't think that really
Yeah.
counts. But I love that
No.
movie too. So what I will say though, is to kind of kick things off, is going into Project Hail Mary. I just watched a bunch of space sci-fi that have been on my list for a really long time. So I just
Mm-hmm.
want to shout out those and list all of those. I'll leave one off because I know it's on your list. Um, but none
Okay.
of these made my list, so I just wanted to say all of them
Give
because
it
I'm
a
not going to
shout
talk.
out. I
Yeah,
got you.
yeah. So Moon, which I would recommend Moon. I think this was a very good movie. Sam Rockwell, who is basically an employee on a moon mining colony. Really interesting. That's all I'll say because if I say anything else, if you've seen Moon, you know why I can't say anything else. I can't even
Okay.
really give a hook. Just because it's basically he's been on there for like 3 years. He's supposed to come home in 3 weeks, and he's struggling to get there. So it's interesting in that regard. I watched Danny Boyle and Alex Garland's Sunshine.
So yes, I've been meaning to get around to that one.
Yes, so I think I'm very intrigued by them, and I think after this movie, I've seen a couple Danny Boyle movies, and I think after this movie, I was talking with my brother a little bit about it. I think I'm confident to say I'm not a big fan of Danny Boyle. I like what he does, but I don't necessarily like the product, if that makes sense. Um, and Alex Garland, I do like. I like his writing. I like his things
Mhm.
that he does directing as well. Sunshine's kind of a crazy movie. It's got some cool stuff. It's got some great space shots. I think it is a very good space movie and it hits a lot of the beats that you would expect. It's got a great cast. It's got Cillian Murphy. It's got Chris Evans. It's got Michelle Yeoh.
Mhm.
It's got
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, it's got Rose Byrne. So really cool, some cool stuff going on. I do think this is one that wildly misses the ending. Like
Uh-huh.
a way a huge left turn that I love when movies are bold and they take big left turns. I think this one is not does not do it for me. It's just makes things
That's too
weird.
bad.
Yeah, but so that's an interesting one. The next one is Ad Astra. Came out
Uh-huh.
a couple years ago. Brad Pitt. Not a fan of this one. Was hoping it would work.
Okay.
Just almost nothing in it works for me. I think the main issue is like it's honestly Brad Pitt. Like I don't think he does a good job. I
Well,
think
that's
it's
unfortunate.
yeah, there's like this whole emotional beat between him and his father and like the distance Brad Pitt is putting onto other characters, and I just don't think it really works very well. Similarly, we talked a little bit together about First Man. I just
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get into this one very much. Maybe I'll try
I
again
couldn't
another
either.
time. I didn't even finish it actually. I was trying to finish it yesterday, and I just had other things. I couldn't finish it. So sorry for all the First Man truthers out there. I'm not giving up on it. I'll try it again another time. Just maybe I was watching too much space movies, and this one I just couldn't do it at this point. Oblivion was a rewatch. This is a Tom Cruise movie I saw in high school and actually has some very similar vibes to Moon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this movie is almost good. Can't, yeah, it's like, first of all,
I know exactly the vibe you're talking about.
yeah, the soundtrack is incredible. The action is incredible. It's directed by Joseph Kosinski, who did the
Mm-hmm.
newest Top Gun and F1 the movie, excuse me. So you know
Mm-hmm.
he knows how to direct action and that type of thing. So it's like there's so many pieces of this movie that are there and just like something that's just like not working. So it's like you
Oh,
kind of
that's
have
too
fun with
bad.
it, but it's like, wow, this movie was really, really close to being really, really good, and it's just not quite there. So that's too bad. And the last one, shout out, coworker recommended me. I watched this movie a couple months ago, and I finally got around to it this go around, and it's Event Horizon.
Okay.
I actually think um, and this has a very famous movie quote in it that I didn't realize was from this. What is it? It's something like, I'm looking it up. It's something like where we're going, you don't need to see or something. Hold on. This is a horror movie. So, like, know that if you're looking for space movies to watch, like, straight up horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, it's where we're going, we don't need eyes to see, which is like a quote you'll hear in movie
Mm-hmm.
things
I'm looking it up
sometimes.
right now.
I think the issue with this movie is it's like wildly predictable. Like you know exactly what's going on in every step of the
Mm.
way. Um, but I think it's still like kind of fun. But it just Paul W. Anderson's the director. Yeah, it's fine. Like if you're in a horror
Okay.
mood, if you're in a space mood, then yeah, I'll recommend this one. Definitely some issues there. So that was my space movie journey. I had a great time. There's one more that
Sounds like it.
I will leave till later to talk about. But yeah, I had a good time, and I think that's kind of when I realized, like, yeah, I thought maybe this was my favorite genre or up there in favorite genre movies, but I think if it were, I would have liked a few of these movies a lot more. So maybe not.
Cool. Yeah, I was not nearly as thorough as you are because of school. I agree as far as trying to figure out what space sci-fi movies were. I agree with a lot of what you said because for me, I was like, well, Star Wars is, yeah, it has a lot of those fantasy beats. It just happens to be in space. And like with Dune, for me, that's almost like just because it's interplanetary, like just because it takes place on multiple planets doesn't necessarily make it like a space sci-fi.
Yeah,
Which is why
exactly.
when you said like some Star Trek qualifies, I would agree because that's space exploration. Like
Yeah.
they are not just studying planets, like they are studying like the concept and the exploration of space like as its own frontier. And that's also why when I was looking up like trying to find like different space movies, same thing, I kept running across two things. First, an alien movie is not innately a space movie. So like Arrival, I'm like just because the aliens
Okay.
land
I thought you meant
does
like
not mean
Alien, but no, yeah, no, you're right.
no. Well, yeah,
Right, right,
because
right.
well, yes. We have things to say about Alien. No, just because a movie is about aliens does not mean it is about space. Like,
Right.
you can have aliens and that sort of sci-fi extraterrestrial element. That does not necessarily mean that it is about space. And as far as things like October Sky, Hidden Figures, movies about NASA, kind of the same thing. I'm like, that is like the study of space, but I really wanted to focus on more like the exploration and the entity that is space.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, you might be mad at one of my picks, but
Okay. Well,
I
that's
don't know. It's
fine.
just like there's just like a feeling to some movies where it's like you name a movie and you can be like yes or no. That's just some of they're just like
Because
I
I
feel like there's a good yeah.
I swapped out my number 3 a little last minute because I felt like it was more about a planet and less about space, but we'll see when we get there. But do you want to kick us off with your number 3?
I know I just talked about a bunch of movies that were on my list. I'm gonna do a bunch of honorable mentions now, so forgive
Ah,
me.
jeez, okay.
I did want to mention these two as movies I would have seen when I was a kid and have not revisited and don't remember a thing about them, but should probably revisit it at some point. That's The Right
Mm.
Stuff and Apollo 13. So, couldn't tell you almost anything that happens in those two movies, but I know they're good, so I should watch them sometime. Anyways,
I almost
my honorable mentions, I want
I
to give an
almost watched Apollo 13 in because I figured it might make my list, but carry
okay.
on.
Very cool. Very cool. Honorable mentions, though, I did want to shout out Contact, which I watched fairly recently. Robert Zemeckis, starring Jodie Foster. Similar vibes to Arrival, but there is a little bit more of the space element in it. Still not completely a space sci-fi that they're like in space full time, but I would definitely consider it in the space sci-fi genre. Has an incredible scene. I don't know if you know about this scene of like a mirror
Mm.
where she's like running upstairs and she like reaches for a cabinet and opens it. So it's like the shot you don't realize is a mirror until she
Yeah, yeah.
finally opens it. It's very cool, very cool. Another one is Wall-E. I think that's a great space sci-fi movie. I put Guardians franchise,
Okay.
Guardians of the Galaxy. In particular, I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is maybe the best one. That was when I think we've talked about this briefly, but I was kind of out of my Marvel phase. Heard that Guardians of the
Yeah, that's
Galaxy
right.
3 was good, went to go see it, thought it was really, really good. I feel like it hits a lot of this more space sci-fi vibes than maybe some of the other ones. And then we talked again about this before, the Alien movies, in particular the prequels, Prometheus and Covenant. So I really like those. We talked about it before, so I won't talk about it again. But that is my honorable mentions list. Did you have any movies you wanted to shout as an honorable mention?
No, because I struggled to narrow it down to 3. One honorable mention, so I did pull this out for my number 3, and when I get to my number 3, I'll say why. I did yank out The Martian,
Sure.
because even though the entire, like, B plot is about the space, I felt like the central plot was about Matt Damon's character on Mars, and to me, that is still that, like, planet, that is not space. That being said, my number 3, I'm breaking a few rules, but there's basically one particular scene that I was like, I want to highlight this, and so I am going to pick it. But yes, I will. That was the only one that it was The Martian, and then I was like, no, I'm going to swap it out because I feel like it, and this is my list. I can do whatever I want.
Exactly. That's the whole name of the game.
So, what is your third one?
Yes, for sure. So this is the one that you may push on a little bit. 1968, Planet of the Apes, and I think that this is a good space sci-fi. The beginning is very much, about them in space and crashing on the
Mhm.
Planet of the Apes. Obviously, now as I'm saying this out loud, I feel like you're gonna argue to me that this shouldn't be included, but I'm still gonna stick with it.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I know of it, and so I have a hunch that if I had seen it based on what I know about this movie, that yes, I would be giving you some crap, but I haven't seen it.
They're
So I feel like
astronauts.
I have no leg to stand on.
Yeah. No, there's probably I should have picked like one of the Alien movies or Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or Wall-E or Contact. But I want to talk about Planet of the Apes because I think it is a great sci-fi. So again, as I mentioned, the first movie, for anyone that doesn't know, is a group of astronauts gets sent into space on a certain mission and they crash land, and many years have passed. They've been in like sleep chambers. But like there again, there's these elements very similar to Project Hail Mary. Quick, skip ahead 20 seconds if you don't want any spoilers at all. But Project Hail Mary, he wakes up and a couple of his people are dead that were with him
Yeah.
sleeping. And he wakes up and he
Right.
doesn't know where he is. So it's basically the same exact thing in Planet of the Apes. They crash land, a couple of them are dead, and they don't know where they are. So then they start going to explore. Uh, then they explore, and there's a bunch of apes, and they get taken in, and I don't know. They talk about space. There's space in there. It's a great movie. It's a huge franchise.
But yeah.
I don't know that I haven't seen a lot of the older ones, mostly just this first one, but it was one of those ones that I watched, and it's just so good. You watch some of these movies and you're like, "Oh, this is why it's a franchise. This is why it's been talked about so often for so many years." But just from the like setting, obviously back then it wasn't a huge set, but they found these incredible geological formations to film in.
Mm.
Okay, that makes sense. That's why it feels familiar. But it's filmed around Lake Powell, and down
Oh,
in
yeah, yeah.
Arizona. So like, those just like big sort of red rock formations in a huge lake. And there's just like really good music. It's really kind of like
Mm.
frantic, a lot of percussion, sort of what you kind of associate like a Tarzan, the, ape jungle song in the Tarzan movie,
Yeah,
animated Disney
yeah.
Tarzan movie. So it just like feels like that kind of vibe, but a little bit like more ominous and spooky. So I don't know. I don't know why I picked this when I just went on this huge rant about space sci-fis and what defines it and what doesn't. But I feel like at its core, this movie feels otherworldly and feels like
Mm.
these are astronauts that have been traveling through space. And so they have to like adapt to being somewhere new. And so I feel like all of those things, and obviously there's a crash landing, um, the sleeping forever type thing, whatever they do for space movies. There's a lot of those things there, which is why I'm justifying myself. Uh, and I feel good about it, so that's my number three, Planet of the Apes.
Okay. No, no, good. Yeah, it's making me more interested to see it for sure. My movie, you have already mentioned, which is fine.
Great,
But I should preface, so like the three movies I did kind of have a little bit of a I wanted to highlight like almost different aspects of space, which is why I picked this over The Martian. So the movie I chose is Wall-E,
awesome.
directed by Andrew Stanton, written by the original stories by Pete Docter, screenplays by Jim Reardon and Andrew Stanton. The reason I picked Wall-E is because there's that one scene where he and Eve are like dancing through space.
Yeah, yeah,
And I felt like that captured like the beauty of space.
I love that.
Because I think that this movie, a lot of it takes place on Earth, a lot of it takes place on the ship. So I spent a lot of time being like, well, is this a space movie? And I was like, well, yes, because of this one scene. Because it really does feel to me, yeah, like this enchanting, like with the music playing, like I can picture it perfectly. And it's been years since I've seen Wall-E, but like, yeah, just this picturesque dance sequence of them just traveling,
hmm
gliding, making their way through with like this backdrop of just space as this vast, empty, like beautiful, picturesque setting. And so that's kind of where I went with that was this is my like the beauty of space is that it is
Awesome.
this massive thing. It is this oppressive and sometimes frightening thing, and we'll get to that in some of my later picks. But I felt like because I mean in Project Hail Mary, like there are scenes where I felt like my jaw was just on the floor because it is so gorgeous. So anyway, that was like I said, I bent the rules a little bit for this one, but I felt like it really captured just like yeah, how magical space can be along with, all the other things there's some people really scared of space, some people fascinated by it. I just felt like this really encompassed like the magical, ethereal, beautiful quality that is space.
Awesome. I love that pick. Okay, my number
And
two.
we know I'm an animation junkie, so I was there was an animation movie that I could pick. You knew I was gonna pick it.
It's isn't it in like the top 250 of IMDb or Letterbox or something? I
Oh,
think it's
to be. It's
yeah, I
got to
think
be.
it's
It's got a 95 Metascore.
gosh.
It's the only Pixar movie that's in the Criterion Collection, which I have feelings about that. But I mean, yeah, this movie is beloved. I mean, Wally is the cutest friggin' robot I think I have ever seen on this world. Like I think it's a lovely film. And it's under 100 minutes, which is my favorite thing. But no, I think it's a very lovely, very beautiful little film.
And I think too, like this it kind of reminds me of Hoppers in the sense that like similar messages, and I think that Wally commits 100%, right? It's like very much
Totally agree.
yeah, and versus and that I already kind of I can't did I rant about that? I did. I talked about that on the podcast
Yeah.
where I think Hopper's kind of backs up a little bit when they should be pushing forward. And so I think why Wally works so well is because it is so clear in the vision that it is putting forth.
Also, I will say, as I was kind of thinking over this movie, in preparation for this episode, I think it's got a pretty clear, I don't know if I would say anti-AI stance, but a pretty clear,
Yeah.
like, hey, this thing could be potentially very, very dangerous,
Yes, exactly.
which I know
Perfect.
we've talked about that before too. So I thought it was very interesting. I was like, wow, this thing came out in 2008, and
Right.
here we are almost 20 years later, and it still feels very, very relevant.
Right. Great. Well, my number two is the classic movie Project Hail Mary. Right.
Yes,
Um, yeah, I really enjoyed this.
that age-old classic.
Yeah, I've hesitated talking a lot about this because obviously I wouldn't
Yeah.
talk about it now. So I did read the book Project Hail Mary pretty pretty close to when it released. I don't know why I got into it. I don't know remember why. I just checked it out from the library and read it like 5 years ago, and it came out 5 or 6 years ago. And I think I've said this. I think it was the perfect timing as far as when I read it and then when I came back to the movie because I didn't remember a lot, but I remembered enough to where like I wasn't surprised by anything, but I was also like not 100% sure exactly how things were going on but I could remember like
Mm-hmm.
bits and pieces. So anyways, I just had a really good time, had a great theater experience. It was an IMAX showing. No, it was not the big IMAX. It's this whole thing in Seattle. They, the Pacific Science Center in Seattle, which is right by the Space Needle, they owned the Boeing Theater, which is the biggest IMAX theater in the Pacific Northwest. Well, unless you count, if you count Vancouver, Canada, they have a bigger one, but I don't know if you count that. Or no, theirs might be a little bit smaller. Anyways, it's a really big screen. And the Pacific Science Center sold the movie theater to the Space Needle, which is kind of funny. I'm sure it's some group, but it's kind of funny to imagine that the Space Needle bought the Boeing IMAX theater. So, anyways, for whatever reason, it's closed right now. The Space Needle group is making repairs or whatever. So I bought tickets to what I thought was the big theater, but it was actually the smaller IMAX theater, which was still a decent size. It's, nothing to be ashamed about. There's still a good
You were
theater.
super bummed though. Like
I
you
was
texted me and you were like, "So here's the situation."
I was furious. And a couple minutes in, I chipped a tooth on a Reese's Pieces, so I was mad. And this sounds like a dumb mistake by me, but I'm serious. Probably 9 out of 10 people that were waiting in line for this movie all thought that they were going to the bigger theater. So it just wasn't communicated well. It
Oh,
just
that's too
wasn't.
bad.
So that part of it was frustrating, but regardless, it was a 100% sold out. So not an empty seat in
Dang.
sight. Everyone was reacting. No one was doing it in an annoying way. We were just having a good time. No one was talking. No one was on their phone. It was just, we were all
What
there
a great
watching the movie.
experience.
And I think what really set this movie apart for me is that this doesn't always happen, and it's magical when it does. But there's some times when you're watching a movie where you just feel like you are somewhere else. Like you're not
Yes. Yep.
consciously on Earth, you're just there.
You are transported to whatever world is. Yeah. Totally.
And I
Totally get that
absolutely
experience.
felt that. I absolutely was just engrossed. I thought the filmmaking of it all was very, very good. It's one of those things where you read the book. Um, I know some people disagree. Ryan Gosling disagrees. I was annoyed that they were promoting Rocky in the trailers and the promotional information leading up to the movie because it is such a magical
Hmm.
reveal when you get to it in the book. Because, like, when you're
Okay.
reading the book, you just think that this guy is on this mission, and then suddenly the alien ship comes, and you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So, but whatever, that's fine. They can do it. They can market a movie however they want. So I just think as you're reading the book, it's like, how are they going to adapt this? How are they going to make this work? And they
Yeah.
just did a really fantastic job in bringing that all to life. Like when they talk about in the book that Rocky builds like a protective thing so that he can like roll around
Hmm.
Grace's ship, you're like, you can't even comprehend what that looks like. And then they do it in the movie, and you're like,
Right.
oh yeah, that seems right.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if I had any critique of the movie, I heard someone say this on a podcast I really like, and I think I agree. It would be like 10 to 15% less jokes and 10 to 15% more science. Because you haven't read the book, but the book is like, it's pretty faithful to the book, but the book has a ton more science and like problem solving. Like
Hmm.
when he's going through trying to like figure out how the bacteria can like defeat the astrophage or whatever.
Huh.
That's like a long period of the book of him like doing experiments and figuring that out. Versus in the movie, it's a pretty quick thing of how that happens.
Quicker. Yeah. Yeah.
And he also does a lot more as far as trying to help Rocky when Rocky's injured
Mm.
in the book, but you're never going to be perfect. And like I said, I read the book like 5 years ago, so I think it was perfect where I wasn't mad about anything. But it just works really well. I do want to shout out the score as well, done by Daniel Pemberton, who also did the
Yeah.
Spider-Verse movies. But he
Yeah.
also, when I realized it was him, I was like, oh my gosh, because I've talked about this so much, is the score for Materialists, which I think is just incredible. And
Yes.
I've even sent you songs from that because I think it was the best score I'd heard last year. So I love
Mm-hmm.
him. I'm very excited to when I see that he's on the billing, but I just felt like it brought a very like upbeat vibe to it that wasn't
Mm-hmm.
goofy, that really worked well for me. So I had a great time. I really loved Project Hail Mary. It's
And
going to
I
be
know.
a classic for in our household
Oh
for
yeah.
years to come. Great time.
And I know that, everyone's been talking about how good Ryan Gosling is in it. Sandra Hüller is
Yeah.
really good in this.
Yeah. For
Like,
anyone
I was,
that, she's
yeah, go
fantastic.
ahead.
Anyone that's seen Anatomy of a Fall knows that when Sandra Hüller is on the billing, that it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Also, she's in Zone of Interest as well. One of the best actresses working today. She is fantastic.
Oh, good.
She really brings that character to life in incredible ways and steals the show. The karaoke scene, that was just great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Agreed.
Project Hail Mary, and I'm not afraid to say it.
No, I
Not
liked
like
it. I
that's
liked it a
not
lot.
like
It was
that's
one of those.
yeah,
It
not
was
like
one of
that's
those
an
that I was like,
unpopular opinion.
yeah, and it's a thing that I finished the movie and I was like, I feel pretty comfortable recommending this to pretty much anyone. I think that anyone could watch this and have a pretty good time. So I talked about how Wally was kind of my like the majesty of space, the beauty of space, if you will. My next pick, this is sort of like the oppressiveness and like terror of space. And you were just taking my list left and right at the beginning. This is 19.
Sure.
So, directed by Ridley Scott, story by Ronald Shusett, a screenplay and story by Dan O'Bannon, stars, Sigourney Weaver, John Hurt, Yaphet Kotto, like tons and tons of famous people. I don't know if we've actually talked about this. Are you in between Alien and Aliens? Which is your preferred film?
100% an Alien, to the point where I don't know, I might not even like Aliens a ton.
Dang.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch sometime,
Okay.
but I love Alien, and I think I'm just like fine on Aliens.
I do love them both. The first time I watched it, though, I had both my dad and one of my best friends who were like, "No, you watch Alien for context. You watch Aliens because that's the film that's more fun." And at the time, I remember thinking like, "Yeah, Alien spent a lot of time being like, look at the ship for 10 minutes." And first time I watched it, I was like, "Okay, great. Why do we need to see the ship for 10 minutes?" Whereas Aliens is much more, and then so that was kind of my first thought. Second time I watched these two, I was like, oh, they're different genres in my opinion. Alien
Yeah.
is it's an atmospheric horror. It is a slasher film in space. I think Aliens is an action thriller.
Yeah, I
I think
agree.
Aliens is definitely scary and you have that thrill suspense aspect, but it's also very much an action flick. I don't think the first one is. I think it is a sci-fi like horror. And so then I watched them back to back recently and I was like, yeah, no, I think Aliens is great. Like Aliens I think is a 4.5 star. It might even be 5. I just think Alien does things better. And like I think that Aliens is a feminist masterpiece. I think with Newt, the Queen, and Ripley, like you have 3 solid, very powerful female characters, and I think that's amazing. But I think that Alien, I think it does the horror better. Because it's Aliens again. It feels more like an action thing. It feels more like almost like an alien invasion movie. This, it's like no, there is one thing against us, and we are all stuck in this ship. And it is picking us off one by one. What do we do about this terrifying monster thing that we are stuck with?
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, I feel like this is like the terror and like the oppressiveness of like, there is nowhere to hide. Like the tagline you've seen the tagline for Alien, right?
Yeah.
Where it's something along the lines of like,
In space, no one can hear you
no
scream.
one can use, yes, which like that's so good. So you have this idea of like they are in space. There is nowhere for them to go. It is them and the alien, and who's gonna. It's not even who's gonna win, like who's gonna make it out. And so I really really love this movie. Fun fact: this is just one of the things I really love about it. When they wrote the when either the story or the screenplay, I think it was the screenplay, they wrote it genderless, which is
Oh.
why in Alien her name is Ripley and in Aliens her name is Ellen Ripley,
Mm.
because everyone had names like Ripley, Dallas, Kane, Lambert, Ash. The whole idea was, yeah, that like these characters were totally open. It could be played by anyone, and they just cast who they felt would be best in the role.
That's
So
so
this,
cool.
like, Ripley was not written for like a quote female lead. It just happened that way. It was written
Very
where this
cool.
character is this lead named Ripley, and Sigourney Weaver ended up being the best person for that part, which I just think is
Fantastic.
a very, yeah, it's a very interesting, very like inventive way to construct a script. So yeah, I love this movie a lot. I love Alien every time I watch it. I think it's so good. The showdown between the alien and the cat makes me laugh every time because Jones is just basically like, Jones is a cat, and Jones is like, I don't give, there is not a single part of me that cares that you are here. And I feel like the alien understands that they are both apex predators and is like, I'm gonna leave you, you leave me, we're good. Yeah, I don't know. I think Alien is I think it's a perfect film. I think it's so, so good. And I think as far as a space sci-fi, it really encompasses, yeah, just that like terrifying aspect of like, we don't know what's out there. We don't know where things are, but we're going to head into this vast, terrifying thing and hope that it works out okay.
Yeah.
That's my number two.
I love that. I love, love, love Alien. To say,
We should do an arts v charts with it.
yeah, at the Seattle Museum of Pop Culture, there's a lot of Alien memorabilia that I was super into. I think they even had a copy of some version of the script that you could read a little bit there too. So it's very cool.
That is very cool.
All
All
right.
right, we are down to the wire. You're number one.
My number one is a little bit of a film broy pick, but
Okay, I know what it is.
maybe not as film
I
broy
totally
as
know it.
yours, actually. So we both have.
Yours is a film bro pick. Mine is like a pretentious
Okay, yeah, yeah,
film student pick.
yeah. But
I totally know what yours is
I
now.
wrestled with this for a long time, and I just couldn't justify not
Yeah.
putting this as my number one, and that is Christopher Nolan's Interstellar.
Yep. Yep.
Released in 2014. I don't know when I first saw this movie. I was trying to think of that earlier today, and I genuinely have no idea when I first saw it because I don't think I saw it in theaters. October 2014, I would have been, you'll roll your eyes, but I would have been a senior in high school, and
Wait.
I just don't know. I don't know what I was doing around then. It would have been marching band season, but I do remember around that time there was a Hunger Games movie that also came out. I saw that, but I didn't see this in
Hmm.
theaters. I'm almost positive. So I have no idea when I did end up eventually seeing it. So that's a long story to say. It's still my number one.
Yeah.
So obviously all the regular Nolan people are involved. Jonathan Nolan, I believe, wrote the screenplay. Him and Christopher Nolan are both credited, starring Matthew McConaughey, Jessica Chastain, Anne Hathaway. Not really starring him, but Timothy Chalamet's in it.
That's
Michael
right.
Caine, Matt Damon, surprise, which I do believe that was like a complete surprise. Like he was not,
Yeah. He
again, I
wasn't in
wasn't,
any of the marketing or anything.
right, right, which
Yeah, because you were a
I
child when
feel
this
like
came out.
everything is so leaked and nowadays that just doesn't happen.
Uh,
I mean, even it's stupid though, because like the Mario movie could have done that with Fox and Glenn Powell, but they inexplicably released a
yeah.
poster a week before the movie came out. And it was like, why did you do that? You could have just not.
To be honest, I think they should have kept Rosalina a secret.
Sure. Yeah. But or Yoshi even too. I don't know. It's maybe Yoshi's a good
Yeah.
marketer, but I think that would have been an incredible thing to experience to just see Matt Damon, and you would expect the turn that Matt Damon has just so masterfully done. So anyways, I think at the end of the day, this movie, it either works or well, a couple things. I have a couple of things to say about this movie, and I've seen this talked about a little bit on different websites, but it seems like 'cause it only has like a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes, 73. It has a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes, but an 8.7 on IMDb. I think when this first came out, well, someone was kind of asking the question of like, when did this turn? Because when it first came out, I think a lot of people weren't as high on
Yeah,
it. But now it's like looked back and regarded as considerably one of the best movies, not just space sci-fi movies, but like one of the best movies. Like a 4.4 on Letterboxd and an 8.7 IMDb is going to mean it's like top like 50, top 20 maybe of those websites. I don't know the exact positions. So
yeah,
I think a lot of
that's
people
high.
I mentioned when I talk about this later, but I think it is the end that works for people or doesn't work for people.
Mm,
Because it is a tricky thing to land, but I think it's done so beautifully, and I think it at the some people criticize Nolan too for like not being able to think about certain things like really deeply, but I can appreciate the simpleness of this message of like love is what connects us between time and space. That space is
mm,
this big, huge, scary thing, but at the end of the day, it's love that is going to save us. Right? It has Anne Hathaway's arc too, with like deciding to go to a planet or not, and she's
yeah,
driven by love as well. So you have that kind of tension throughout the entire movie. But I think where this movie really lands is that the scope of the space and the space scenes, or even some of the planet scenes, with the backdrop of the score, just takes you to
mm,
places you can't even imagine. So I just think
right.
this is an all-time great score. Um, and it just hits those moments, gives me goosebumps even just thinking about it. Uh, I think it works really well, and it's my number one space sci-fi movie, and I'm okay saying that, even though if it
That's awesome.
makes me 10% more a film bro.
I will take it. I need to rewatch it. I only saw it once and I watched it right before my mission, so it's been over 10 years at this point. I know that it's such a film bro pick, which is I think why I remember watching it and being like, yeah, I feel like my brain is broken, but it's pretty good. And yeah, I need to revisit it. I've been meaning to.
Yeah, I
I
know
haven't yet.
it had an IMAX re-release a couple either months ago or like a year or two ago. Obviously, I didn't get a chance because I only have one IMAX, and I have multiple IMAXs, but they're all 2+ hours away, so I wouldn't
Right.
have been there. But would love to see this in IMAX. Feel like it would change my life.
Yeah. No, I get that. Well, you had your film bro pick. This is my pretentious film student pick.
Great.
This should come as a surprise to no one because I love, 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 love this film. And this is 1968's 2001: A Space Odyssey. Directed by Stanley Kubrick, written by Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke. This is sort of my like, we don't understand space flick. Like it is my thing. It's beautiful and terrifying like my other two, but it's also just like it is this thing that we have scratched the surface in understanding what it is and what it does.
Yeah.
So this one for me, it's so funny because I remember I watched it and my mom was like, "Yeah, that's a weird movie." And I have known people who are just like, "That's a really weird movie." I don't know why it worked so well for me. Several times this is the weirdest. This isn't like a hot take, but it's I preface people watching this with kind of this weird saying where I'm like, I think it's best to watch this movie when you're just kind of tired. I don't think when you're hyped up or like on a Friday night that you're like, yeah, forget 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's not what it is. Go to your Star Wars, go to your other ones. 2001: A Space Odyssey, I have found I enjoy it the most when when I am tired, so I'm not thinking too terribly much about it and I'm just sort of letting it like wash over me. Where I'm like, I don't care that this ship is taking 10 minutes to get to its place and we have this massive orchestration in the background because this is pretty to look at and it's pretty to listen to and I'm tired. So I don't care. And like the sequence, like the psychedelic sequence that the astronaut Dave goes through when he sees the monolith and there's that psychedelic sequence like it's it's best, especially if you're not like a big, like pretentious moviegoer, don't go into it with like your full faculties. Go into it when you're tired, because then during the psychedelic sequence, you're not sitting there going, what is happening? What's going on? Why are there so many colors? Why are there so many lights? No, you're tired and you just watch and you're like, it was so pretty. Look at all the colors. And you're just sort of letting it happen. Because this movie it's a lot. There is I have explained this movie to people. I have had people watch it and be like, I don't get it. And it's one of those movies that the first time I finished watching it, I was like, I don't know what happened. I don't know how I feel about this movie. And then it was all I could think about for the next like 2 weeks was this film. And so I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about it, is I think that it is a movie to watch when you are sleepy, when you are tired, and just it's 2.5 hours, just let it sort of wash over you. Because I think as far as like a casual moviegoer or like someone who likes popcorn movies and things like that, like this is very cerebral. It leans heavy into like the sci-fi. And like the last sequence, you're not really meant to understand because it's basically beyond human understanding at that point. For me, I don't have to understand everything. This movie doesn't have to make sense. It is everything I want in a movie, where it's just like it is a sight and sound experience where like the visual and the audio are just combining in this way that I find really, really like fascinating and exciting. So I don't know. There's my plug for 2001: A Space Odyssey. I do think that like the most fun part for most people is the AI showdown with Hal. The open the pod bay doors, Hal. I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave. Like that's the part that people are like, oh yeah, I'm into it. As far as the rest of it, I'm like, just sit back and just let the movie happen. Don't try to figure it out. Just let it play out in front of you. And that is, to this day, that is my favorite way to watch 2001: A Space Odyssey. I've never heard anyone else put it that way. I don't know if anyone else even agrees with me, but I watched it that way the first time, and there have been other times where I've watched it where I've been like a pretentious film mood. My favorite way still to watch it is when I'm just like on this side of tired and I'm not really thinking. I'm just I'm just in the experience. I'm just letting this movie play out, and I just am witnessing what's happening and just letting myself be a part of whatever this crazy thing is that this director has created for us. So that's my super, super pretentious pick. Again, I know people who are like, this movie is weird, this movie is bonkers. I have family members who will refuse to watch it with me, but I really, really love this movie.
Yeah, I love a lot of how you put that. This was the movie that I didn't mention yet that I did just recently watch for the first time. Not the first time as an adult, I'll say, because my dad did turn it on one Sunday evening, and I was probably like 12 and not about it at that point, but
That tracks.
it is one that you hear tons of like your favorite directors talk about all the time. Um, as just being formative and being something that made them want to be, so many people, actors, directors, that made them want to be in movies, because it does do so
Yeah.
many things. And I think what I would add to what you said is, I think what it does really well is huge moments of payoff. Like it's like there's a lot of sort of things happening, and then just masterfully culminates with score and visually into a sense of like, I kind of, everyone knows the main theme, and just like the way
Mm-hmm.
that the apes at the beginning, you kind of watch them start to discover and then finally use tools. And like, that's a great payoff. And I think
Yes.
throughout the movie, there's a couple of those touch points that do keep you a little bit more anchored until the end. And I was like, okay, I'm not
Yeah.
following anymore, but I'm here, I guess. And another one I'll mention though is the when they find the monolith in space. That is an incredible sequence. And like
The moon sequence or the psychedelic
yeah,
sequence?
the moon sequence one, where it's like, I cannot believe that this was filmed and came out in 1968. this is like
Don't know how they did some of the VFX. Like
of all the movies I listed of movies that I just recently watched, I'm like, I don't know that I would put many of them above 2001 as far as
yeah,
the visual filmmaking goes. Like, it is so incredible the way that it does it.
yeah.
Sunshine did some really cool things, I'll say. But yeah, it was incredible. And I watched this one first, and it's so funny because it's like every one of those ones that I just listed too, everyone has to have at least one nod to 2001: The Space Odyssey. So
Yeah.
like I'm trying to remember if it was either Event Horizon or Sunshine. I can't remember which one, but it had three astronaut suits, and they weren't
Hmm.
full red, yellow, blue, but they had like little pieces of it. And I'm like, oh, that's from 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
So every single space movie you watch at some point will do a nod to 2001: A Space Odyssey just because it's that influential.
Well, it's kind of like how you said, like, you hadn't seen Casablanca before, but then when you watch it, you're like, oh, I've seen Casablanca. And like,
Right.
same thing when I recently watched Blade Runner, I was like, oh, that's the thing is like, there are these movies that just influenced every other movie that came after it, and 2001: A Space Odyssey is one of those. Like, you cannot construct a space movie without acknowledging the existence of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
It is funny though, because that's absolutely true. And then like, oh, so what is 2001: Space Odyssey about? And you're like, oh, well, civilization and like progress, but then there's, like machines. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah,
It's yeah, you put it very well in how you described it. And I would agree with you. I think that's a good way to watch it. I also think this is a movie that I'd say it does have like parts or sections that it does. And I
it
think it's
does.
also okay to watch a section and then come back to it later to watch the next section.
Well, see, I'm not going to agree with you there, but that's I have a hard time not watching a movie in one sitting. I will do it if I have to. That being said, I watched it a couple years ago and I put in my review, I said, there's nothing to say that hasn't already been said. It's a masterpiece and I have no clue how they did some of the VFX. I also vote we bring back the intermission. I think if a movie is longer than 2 hours, I want an intermission. But
Well,
that's just my 2 cents.
if you're not seeing this movie at a movie theater, you can give yourself as many intermissions for however long
You
you want.
can,
So you can have
and
your cake and eat it.
I would rather someone watch it and watch it in like 3 or 4 sittings than not watch it at all.
That's a
I
good
don't see myself
mentality.
ever doing that, but to each their own. Now, typically, this is the point in the show when I would ask you what we're watching, but I have yet to confirm what our Arts v Charts is. So, for
True.
the sake of making sure that we actually watch it, I think I am going to go with my original call. I have an animated movie, I think it's French, called April in the Extraordinary World, that's set during like industrial boom. I've been really looking forward to watching it. And I was trying to find a movie to pair it with, and one that kept cropping up, which I just think would be goofy and also very fun, is Disney's Atlantis: The Lost Empire. So that's
That's
what I'm
great.
going with.
Let's do it.
So
That
we're going
sounds
to
like a fun
watch.
one.
So yeah, we'll watch April in the Extraordinary World, which is my pretentious animated pick. I mean, that is the arts pick. And then I don't know if this is charts because this movie is not terribly well regarded, but I think Disney's Atlantis: The Lost Empire is going to be a fun, goofy thing to compare it to. So I'm excited.
I'd push back on well regarded though. I think it is many people consider it. I think it's like it's cult classic status in that a lot of people love this movie. But I do think
Let's see,
it
you could say that about almost any Disney, though.
sure, without looking it up, I would assume this was a flop, but I think a lot of people really like it. So, anyways, we'll talk about it later. So, that's
Yeah,
what we're watching next. And you all know, support us, interact with us, text us, send us suggestions, follow us on wherever you get your great podcasts. And until next time.
catch you later.